Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. Today we would like to record a video presentation of assignment 1 for fundamental of HVAC and refrigerant subject. But first we will start by introducing ourselves. My name is Muhammad Akmal bin Matno.
My name is Muhammad bin JOHARI.
My name is HAIQAL bin WIRA.
My name is NABIL AIMAN bin ALIAS.
My name is UMARUL HAKIMI bin HARUN.
Okay, let's start with presentation. We will go to our first topic, which is introduction.
Okay. My name is Muhammad Aris. I will present about introduction. Okay, for the HVAC stand for the heating, ventilation, air conditioning. HVAC system can be found in variety of places from single family houses to submarine, and they provide environmental comfort. The process of replacing or exchanging air within a room is represented by the V in HVAC or ventilation. This improves indoor air quality by removing moisture, smoke, smells, heat, and other pollutant, as well as controlling temperature and replenishing oxygen. Air conditioner is a system that regulated the temperature of the air, and HVAC is unit is any system that use air vents to cool or heat the air while also removing moisture. Air conditioning units now heat as well, while also as cool. This is referred to as a heat pump, which essentially reverses the refrigeration cycle to provide heat. More and more buildings are abandoning traditional weight system as air conditioning system have become more reliable and, more importantly, very efficient against fossil fuel. So I would like to pass next.
Okay. Next, I would like to talk about compressor. Compressor, which is essentially the heart of an air conditioner. Without a working compressor, you won't have cool air. Okay, compressor location. The compressor might be situated in the outside air conditioning unit, at the rear or on the side of your home. Other vital pieces within the outdoor unit include the condenser coil, and fans. A copper refrigerant line connect the outdoor unit to the indoor section of your air conditioning system. These two elements work together to absorb hot air from within your home and convert it to cool air once they join. Okay, next, the function of compressor. The cooling cycle's heart is the compressor. The compressor starts the cycle by drawing in cool, low pressure refrigerant gas from the inside. The primary purpose of the motor-driven compressor is to squeeze the refrigerant and then raising its temperature and pressure until it escapes as hot or high pressure. Okay, there is a three function of compressor, which is the first one is heat transfer. The heated gas is pushed by the compressor the heat gas is pushed by the compressor to the external air conditioner fine condenser coil, where fans blow cool outside air over the cool and through the fins, removing the heat from the refrigerant and transferring it to the outside air. Okay, next, the second is turn the liquid. When the refrigerant has lost enough heat, it condenses into a heated liquid that travels through a high pressure expansion valve, which converts the refrigerant into a cool, low pressure liquid. The refrigerant travels from the expansion valve to the fine evaporator coil on the air conditioner, indoor or room side. Okay, the last one is absorb heat. The refrigerant is chemically required to evaporate into a gas when it enters the evaporator coil, where the pressure is much lower. This process necessitates heat, which is provided by another fan blowing warm air over the evaporator coil. The air in the room cools as the heat from the room is transferred to the evaporating refrigerant. The refrigerant is sucked back into the compressor as a chill, low pressure gas to complete the cycle. Okay, now I would like to talk about how compressor work. Okay, to understand how the compressor work, think about the cooling process for a split system center air conditioner. The air conditioner pulls heat out of the air in your home, cools it over a set of cool pipe or an evaporator coil. Okay, and it releases the cool air into your home. The evaporator coil remains cold thanks to a liquid refrigerant heat, absorb hot air and change it to gas. This gas is the transport outside to the condenser coil, where the coil again become a liquid. From this point, the cycle continues. How does the compressor fit into the picture? Okay, the compressor is responsible for moving the refrigerant between the evaporator and condenser coil, ensuring that the refrigerant change to gas or liquid as needed. You can think of the compressor as the heart of air conditioning system and the refrigerant as a blood. To this end, the compressor pumps the refrigerant through the system to keep it live and running properly. That's all for the compressor. I would like to pass to my friend.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nabil AIMAN and I will explain briefly about evaporator component. An evaporator is a device in a process used to turn the liquid form of a chemical substance such as water into its gaseous form vapor. The liquid is evaporated or vaporized into a gas form of the targeted substance in that process. It is usually located within the control space or is in some way isolated from the outside of the vehicle. Next is the function of the evaporator. The first function is to absorb heat from the surrounding location or medium which is to be cool. Next, the evaporator is convert liquid refrigerant into vapor. And the third function is in the evaporator, the temperature of the refrigerant must always less that of the surrounding temperature, so that heat flows to the refrigerant. Okay, next, how evaporator works. This is the part of the refrigeration system that is doing the actual cooling, because its function is to absorb heat into refrigeration system. The evaporator is placed in the area to be cooled. The refrigerant is let into measure by a flow control device and eventually released to the compressor. The evaporator consists of fin tube, which is about absorb heat from the air blown through a coil by a fan. And next, fins and tube are made of metal with high thermal conductivity to maximize heat transfer. The refrigerant vaporized from the heat, it absorbs heat in the evaporator. Next, the evaporator fan's motor is always running, even if the compressor and condenser fan are off. The evaporator fan is responsible for keeping a constant flow of air in the refrigerator box. It must keep the air moving and flowing over the evaporator coil so that the refrigerant can absorb the heat from the box. That's all for the evaporator. Next, I will pass to condenser component. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Nabil. So now is condenser part. So in a system involving heat transfer, a condenser is a heat exchanger used to condense gaseous substances into a liquid state through cooling. So in a split unit system, it is a set of coils that located inside the outdoor unit of air conditioner. So what is the function of condenser? A condenser in a cooling system of a refrigeration system, the heat is absorbed by the vapor refrigerant in the evaporator, followed by the compression of the refrigerant by the compressor. The high pressure and high temperature state of the vapor refrigerant is then converted to liquid at the condenser. It is designed to condense effectively the compressed refrigerant vapor. A heat exchanger that condenses gaseous substances into liquid so that the latent heat is released by a substance and transferred to surrounding environment. For principal operation of condenser, a condenser is designed to transfer heat from a working fluid, such as water in a steam power plant, to a secondary fluid or the surrounding air. The condenser relies on the efficient heat transfer that occurs during phase changes. In this case, during the condensation of a vapor into a liquid, the vapor typically enters the condenser at a temperature above that of the secondary fluid. As the vapor cools, it reaches the saturation temperature, condense into liquid and release large quantities of latent heat. As the process occurs along the condenser, the quantity of vapor decrease and the quantity of liquid increase. At the outlet of the condenser, only liquid remains. Some condenser designs contain an additional length to subcool this condensed liquid below the saturation temperature. That's all for condenser part. We move on to expansion valve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akmal. Okay, I would like to present to you about the expansion valve. Okay, the expansion valve is one of the devices that have in a hatchback system. The function of expansion valve is to remove pressure from the liquid refrigerant to allow expansion or change of state from liquid to a vapor in the evaporator. This may be verified by filling the liquid line at its connection to the expansion valve. The liquid refrigerant leaving the expansion valve is quite cool. Okay, how expansion valve works? To understand the expansion valve works, we must understand the direct relationship between temperature and pressure. When the refrigerant pressure increases, the temperature is also increased. The relationship between pressure and temperature also work in opposite direction by a reduction in the pressure of the refrigerant. In simple terms, as refrigerant's pressure gets reduced, it also can be effectively cooled off. What expansion valve does to accomplish this process by inhibiting the refrigerant from flowing into the evaporator. So without this device, there is a big possibility that the refrigerant will flow and rush into the evaporator without any reduction in its pressure. Okay, next. Okay, there are 4 types of expansion valve. First type is automatic expansion valve. This type is using pressure actuate diaphragm. It maintains a constant pressure in the evaporator. The setback is that it's not efficient if load fluctuates, hence this type is not suitable for use air conditioning as the load fluctuates a lot during the operation. Second type is thermostatic expansion valve. This type uses a valve operation mechanism to control a flow of liquid refrigerant into evaporator coil. The flow is controlled by pressure in the evaporator. Third type is capillary tube. This device is a tube with a small internal diameter and could be coiled for part of its length. It is installed to the suction line. A filter dryer is sometimes fitted before the tube to remove dirt or moisture from the refrigerant. Due to the lower cost compared to other expansion valve types, this device is used in units produced in large quantity, such as split unit or window air conditioner type unit. The last type is float valve. This device is actuated by a float that is immersed in the liquid refrigerant. both low side float and high side float are used to control the flow of liquid refrigerant. The low side helps to maintain a constant level of liquid refrigerant in the evaporator. It opens when there is no liquid in the evaporator and closes when there is liquid in evaporator. The high side is located at the high pressure side of the system and maintain a constant level refrigerant in the condenser. When the compressor operates, the condensed refrigerants flow to the float chamber and open the valve. These are picture the four types of expansion valve. First, automatic expansion valve. Second, thermostatic expansion valve. Third, capillary tube, and lastly, float valve. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter, sir.
Thanks to UMARUL. I would like to tell about conclusion. The system that been used in this analysis is split unit, which has two main components, which is indoor air output in outdoor compressor, which rely on a set of pipes to connect between these two components. Based on the result, compressor consume more energy compared to other device in this split unit because it was used to move the refrigerant continuously between evaporator and condenser. In addition, low pressure gas is compressed and convert to high pressure gas at the compressor in order for the compressor to circulate the pressurized refrigerant throughout the system. That's all from us. Thank you.